Hi, folks. This week we've been exploring 18th century revolutions, including the First Industrial Revolution, the American and French revolutions, and the philosophical revolution of the Enlightenment. And a couple of questions have surfaced in discussion. One of them is this debate about whether the American Revolution or the French Revolution is more influential in world history. And there's no clear answer to that. In fact, both revolutions are connected to each other. During the American Revolution, the Patriot forces received not just financial aid from France, but actually French officers like the Marquis de Lafayette came and served in the American Army. The two revolutions are connected in that way. Also, ideologically, the writings of French philosophers like Jean-Jacques Rousseau influenced the American founding fathers. So there's more connections there. In Europe, I would say the French Revolution obviously has the advantage because following the initial stages of the revolution, the wars led by Napoleon spread French influences and ideas all over Europe. And so if you're looking at European history, it's probably, pretty clear that France's impact is greater than what happened in North America, directly at least. However, if you fast forward in history, the American Revolution leads to the foundation of the United States. America will emerge as an industrial and global power into the 20th century, and so you can make a pretty firm argument today that the American influence has had a global impact at least as large as the French one did. So that's sort of a chicken and an egg type of argument. You really can't separate out the two parts that well. The other question concerned the Industrial Revolution and sort of the tension between the positive impacts of the revolution of industrialization on society versus the negative costs. And again, I think it's really difficult to make the argument that the Industrial Revolution is either more positive or more negative. Obviously, depending on what you read, different scholars and different writings will tend to be either more critical or more positive in the way they view industrialization. But again, it's an inextricable mix. And so today, obviously, we live with the benefits of industrialization in the world of the 21st century. Very few of us would want to go back in time and live in a world with kerosene lamps and washing your laundry by hand in a tub with lye soap or any of those other things. We have a lot of labor-saving conveniences at our disposal. Also, the internet and communications technologies that make our life easier, except when you get 53 spam calls in one day in your phone. Then maybe we would like to go back into the past. But again, for every positive benefit, you can probably think of a negative one. So if you look at the environmental cost of the Industrial Revolution, if you look at the losses in terms of deaths and injuries and suffering, the quality of life of people who lived in industrial cities, the rise of child labor, the rise of powerful monopolies that choked out all competition. The list goes on and on. And so, I think, catch me on one day and I may be feeling negative about the Industrial Revolution. Catch me on another one and I'll probably be praising all the wonderful things that it did. The other thing to mention quickly is that the term Industrial Revolution is an artificial one that was created after the fact. At the time, if you could go back to the 1750s, 60s, and 70s when the first signs of industrialization were taking place in Britain, no one would have used that term. And the other thing about industrialization and the term Industrial Revolution is that inevitably there's going to be debate over when it exactly starts And has the Industrial Revolution in fact ended? You can make an argument that we've had a continuous flow of technology and innovation since the time of the first Industrial Revolution. And if you go back to the 1700s, it's not that difficult to look backward in time from that point and find all of the components and examples of technological innovation taking us back into the Middle Ages that show that the Industrial Revolution was a derivative event, that it was standing on the shoulders of innovations that had come earlier. And so there are some texts now that argue that there have been three industrial revolutions. The first, the second in the 19th century that involved things like electricity and the internal combustion engine, and then a third that involves maybe the 20th century and the rise of computer technology, genetics, and things like that. And so all of those efforts to sort of chop things up into digestible, bite-sized pieces are somewhat artificial. It's an attempt to package something in a way that we can understand it better. So, hope everyone is going to have a good weekend. And next week we're going to be looking at themes including imperialism and the decline of great empires in the 19th century in various places around the world. So have a good weekend, and I'll talk to you later.